September 28. Uncommon. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. Peter, James, and John were fishermen. While Paul was well educated and Luke was a physician, Matthew was a tax collector. Both David and the prophet Amos were shepherds, and Elisha was a farmer. Rahab was a prostitute. Gideon came from a poor family, and Moses was a fugitive from justice. Another who rose from humble beginnings to greatness in God's service was Nehemiah. Nehemiah was the cupbearer or butler to Artaxerxes, the king of Persia. His access to the world's most powerful monarch placed him where God could use him to effect revival in Judah. As prophesied by Jeremiah, God's people had spent 70 years in Babylonian captivity. When given the opportunity to appeal to the king on behalf of his nation, Nehemiah said, "If it pleases the king, and if your servant has found favor in your sight, I ask that you send me to Judah, to the city of my father's tombs, that I may rebuild it." Nehemiah 2:5. It was a bold request, but having been granted the king's favor, Nehemiah returned to Jerusalem and set about not only rebuilding the ruined city, but also establishing far-reaching reforms that would turn Judah in God's direction, in spite of threats, treason, opposition, and overwhelming odds. Nehemiah was a common man who had made an uncommon commitment to God's service. Although he was not an architect, he rebuilt a wall. While not a military leader, he readied God's people for battle. Despite being neither a priest nor a prophet, he instituted religious reforms in Jerusalem and throughout Judah. Nehemiah was committed, and his life stands as a shining example of what God can do through the person who makes himself or herself available to the moving of the Holy Spirit. There is no limit to the usefulness of one who, putting self aside, makes room for the working of the Holy Spirit upon his heart and lives a life wholly consecrated to God. As you surrender your life to God, expect Him to use you powerfully for His glory.